Hi, I'm Miranda Stewart, Catastrophe Management Consultant at Capital Insurance Group. Welcome to our video series on wildfire preparedness. You will learn how to protect your family, your home, or business and community based on my 30-plus years of wildland fire experience. Our goal is to provide resources to help you stay safe. It can be helpful to visualize the stages of wildfire preparedness as a bullseye. At the center, you have the home or business owner. Next, the neighborhood. And surrounding these inner layers, the community. Let's take a closer look at each of these interconnected elements. When considering your home or business, there are 4 key factors to help reduce the risk of wildfire damage. Those factors are landscaping, safely storing flammable materials, building construction, and lastly, fire breaks. For landscaping, the area called Zone 0 to 5 is of particular importance. This means there should be no flammable materials, including mulch, trees, plants, or gardens, within 5 feet of the roofline of your homes. For more information on what to plant, view our supplementary training on this topic called Firewise Landscaping, which is available on the CIG website and YouTube channel. Another important consideration is what you store or install near your home. For example, firewood piles should never be stored within 30 feet of your home. Be sure to bring patio cushions indoors if there's a red flag watch or warning in your area. If you have an awning or sunshade, find one made of fire-resistant material or that can be taken down during red flag warnings. As this homeowner in paradise explains, small choices can make a big difference in reducing wildfire risk. Do you have anything that you'd want to share with other communities that haven't experienced a fire but are at high risk that you'd want to pass on as a message?
I would say that I heard a lot of what I definitely believe in now, for sure, previously. A lot of us up here, you'd say it in passing, there will be a fire someday. Little did we know it was really going to happen. Just as we spoke earlier, just the little things of keeping the fuels from being right next to the home. Simple little things that create the ladder effect for the fire to get to your home. Keeping those clear, keeping your gutters cleared, just spots that easily ignitable debris can build up. And then amazing how the little things can make such a big difference.
The materials used to construct your home are another important factor in wildfire risk. From a cement foundation to fire-resistant ember screens over gutters and vents, every choice along the way is an important step in reducing the chances of losing your home to fire. For siding, the best choice is hardy boards, cement fiber, or other fire-resistant materials such as stone or brick. These materials are fire-resistant and preferred over vinyl siding or cedar shake shingles, for example. For gutters, choose metal over plastic or vinyl. Keep them clean of vegetation debris and cover your gutters with fire-resistant ember screens. When it comes to roofing, metal is the ideal material to keep flames at bay. However, this can be expensive. Another good option is composite as long as it's well maintained, because loose or missing shingles become entryways for embers. Lastly, it is a good idea to create fire breaks. This could be as simple as having fence panels that are adjacent to the house made of metal instead of wood. If you live near an open space or have acreage, create 30 feet of clearance between your property and the forested area. Clear fuels under trees and remove the lower tree branches. If you have land that is several acres or more, consider installing fire breaks. By paying attention to these 4 things, landscaping, proximity of flammable materials, building materials, and fire breaks, your property will not only be more protected, but will also be more favorable to underwrite from an insurance perspective. Even if you have taken steps to protect your home or business from wildfire, it is important to work together with your neighbors to further strengthen your protection. This is where Firewise communities come in.
My name is Joe Cardoza, and I've lived up in Magalia. I'm in Upper Magalia for 8 years. I used to live in the suburbs, and once I moved up here with my house and my 10 acres, I knew at that point that I had to learn how to manage my property. And so therefore I joined the Paradise Ridge Fire Safe Council.
I think that's one of the difficult barriers for homeowners is they don't know what they don't know, for starters. And so when we can educate them on the pieces that they need, then also give them options for products that are all reliable but can be a range of cost to install, because we're not all on the same economic standard.
Right.
But we need to all have the ability to make our houses resilient as possible. So there are efforts that take no money, such as removing that vegetation around your house, up to, you know, higher end products that can involve installing sprinkler systems, etc.
And as we learn these things, for instance, for my home, I bought some fireproof fence, and they're a little costly, and everybody is different when it comes to income. So this fire retardant mesh is a lot cheaper way to go, and that makes it more affordable. Therefore, people can consider it to use.
And the return on that investment is priceless, because embers are the main cause of how fires are lost in a wildfire. So that mesh prevents embers from getting into those susceptible areas of your house, and where your house then ends up burning from the inside out because the embers have gotten into your house. And what a lot of people don't know is actually wildland firefighters in particular, that differs from CAL FIRE. They're trained to go in houses and they have the equipment. Wildland firefighters from federal resources, for example, and contractors don't have those resources, are not trained to go into a house. And even when you have a resource that's trained to go into a house, things are moving too quickly in a wildfire. We're going to keep moving on. So protecting that house from the outside, keeping fire from ever getting inside, that increases your resilience.
Another thing that we did, and in fact, I just had this done 2 weeks ago, is I called for a CAL FIRE home inspection.
Nice.
And here's why. I think I know everything about it. To get that different opinion from the professionals, hey, if you see something, tell me. You know, I want to know if I'm missing something. And so I appreciate that, because I love my home and I don't want to see it get destroyed.
It's a really valid point you just brought up. I think a lot of people don't even realize they can reach out to their local fire department. Even outside of California, the rural fire departments are trained in looking at properties. It may be the state agency that looks at it, it may be your rural fire department, and you can get them to come out and take a look and give you their perspective of defensible space. What does it look like if we come up on this during a wildfire and need to do something? And they can give you those extra tidbits. They might even know where to find products or contractors that can help you get that work done. It's in their best interest to have their community survive as well. So they're going to give you as much information as they can. So you have a generation that experienced the campfire and is well aware of those impacts, but you've got young kids now growing up that never experienced that situation. How are you training the upcoming generations to live in this ever-changing conditions that we have?
Funny you should ask. There was a gentleman who years ago, I think before 2010, he came up with a mascot called Wildfire Ready Raccoon. And in fact, I was Wildfire Ready Raccoon. It's a costume like a raccoon. And he goes around to events, grand openings, and what have you. And so as the Butte Fire Council grew, they decided to go into schools and educate children on living in the WUI and everything associated with that. And so they would use, to relate to the children, they would use Wildfire Ready Raccoon. And he became very popular. I mean, even at our Gold Nugget Days parade, which is our biggest parade in town, the kids, they'd see Wildfire Ready Raccoon coming from 20, 30, 40, 50 feet away, and they would just run up to him. So that was good that they could identify the raccoon with what they're learning in school, and we would go into those schools and educate them on many aspects of living in the WUI, in regards to what to do with your home, have an escape plan, have to go bags, etc. And that way they grow up and habitually know that living here, these things become habit. Don't wait. Don't think it can't not happen to you. It can. And it's better to be prepared ahead of time than to go through the agony of what Paradise, Magalia, and the surrounding areas, the people in LA, Santa Rosa, other fire victims. You don't want to go through that. We lost 85 people in this fire, and there was a lot of mental anguish.
Yeah.
And you don't want to face that when it can be prevented to some degree, a very large degree, and that is to get ahead of it. And I would say it starts with fire rescue. That's how you educate yourself and your neighbors.
Excellent. I really appreciate your time. This is valuable lessons for communities that have gone through a fire and for communities that are facing the potential, which across the Pacific Northwest is a significant issue. And it's growing as an issue across the entire United States, as we've seen this past winter. So thank you for your time.
No problem.
It's been great to talk with you.
Thank you.
Beyond what individuals and neighbors can do to reduce wildfire risk, the outer ring of the bullseye is about the broader community. How can leaders at the town or city level create programs and spaces that help protect citizens against the dangers of wildfires?
I'm Dan Afsef, District Manager for the Paradise Recreation Park District.
Fantastic. Thank you for spending time with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about where we are and why this was important during
Sure.
the campfire?
Yeah, welcome to Billy Park. This is one of our jewels in the community, and we're so fortunate this was a place of refuge during the campfire, and a refuge today just for people that want to get away from it all, even though it's a blue sky, calm day. So this is a beautiful park. Day of the campfire, this was an impromptu refuge for somewhere between 80 and 120 people who took refuge at this pavilion in back here. They had created a bit of a fire break to keep the ember blizzard out with tables. And they stayed here from about 10 o'clock to about 2 o'clock when a CAL FIRE crew member came by and was kind of shocked to see the number of cars that were stretched all the way to the end of this driveway, and the people that were waiting here because they knew that they couldn't get out. The egress points were all closed off. This was a good spot to wait it out. This park is not on the way to anywhere, so you have to actually go out from the main transportation routes to this point. But you look at the grounds here, we have lovely grass areas, we have trees that are well trimmed. Day of the campfire, it was kind of fire ready, even though we lost quite a few trees here, especially on this view in back of me here. Pre-fire, this was a pretty solid view or blocked by trees. One of the things that's different after the campfire is it's been opened up. Yeah. And so this has been a very important, I think, kind of seed for a lot of ideas that we've had in the community, how important parks are for not only daily health and recreation and our wellness, but just for the community during times of emergency as either staging areas or places of refuge, or help, with some ideas to help manage wildfire on this landscape.
That's really significant. Can you tell me about the evolution of how the Parks Department has looked at that role and the actions you've taken since the campfire?
Yeah. So kind of the evolution that the Park District has been, pre-fire, we had looked at some options to actually create a trail around the community. I have a background in floodplain restoration and ecology. And so a lot of places down there, you give nature some room. So those processes can occur and you can protect people by having them in safer areas. So it did cross my mind that having a trail system that circumnavigated the community could be used to manage fuels, could be used during a fire event for crews to get in there easily to do fire and kind of do some measures to help protect the community. Pre-fire, recreation was vaulted in front of it. After the campfire, it took a kind of whole other new dimension. Yeah. So we started looking at what makes sense from a defensible space for an entire community. Just in Butte County, we've had this list of most expensive fire, deadliest fire. The
park fire.
Park fire, which was the fastest spreading fire, just in one county, and yet there's places throughout the state that have exceeded that since then, or have those risks that are there. And so I think one exercise I did after the campfire was trying to think of ahead, like what would our our district needs to do. But in the process of doing that, I also thought, what would we have done going backwards? If we had 2 days to prepare for it, we knew that that event was there. It would be a different strategy than if we have 2 years or 2 decades beforehand to come up with that strategy. So I think those communities need to start today, need to size up what their inventory of risks are, and then what kind of their particular resources, strategies, community. I think a lot of these things the idea genesis have to come from the local communities, but it has to have support from state, federal, and corporate America to make it safer and better for everyone living in these high risk areas.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I really
you're welcome.
appreciate
Yeah.
your time.